Okay, so when I was a kid, I loved fire. I was one of those guys that was just super obsessed with like fire, both making it and then putting it out. Okay, like before I ever wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a firefighter. And a good way to practice is if you have fire to fight. So I would oftentimes take things that are normal and see like, can this go on fire? Can this blow up? How can I take a normal firework that's legal, turn it into something that's more resembling of an illegal firework, or some people would say a small piece of dynamite. And that was just my childhood. So this got me into a few sticky situations, really honed my skills for firefighting. I believe I could have been a great firefighter because of that personal experience. So if I ever see it on a job resume, this story, you know that it was just on-the-job training before I was on the job. So one time in particular when stuff got really hairy was when I almost burned down my backyard. And it wasn't my fault. I want to set that out right now. It was not my fault. I'm going to throw my best friend under the bus because it's more convenient that way. So we were probably like 13 or 14. Which is too old to make this kind of mistake, but we probably were that old. I could like to say that I was only 8, but I think I probably was older than that. And we had in our backyard, we had this playset that our grandfather built, which was a bunch of like metal, kind of, tubes and stuff that were assembled and bolted in or whatever, and had a swing set. And then off to the side, we had a slide, a very simple, homemade kind of play set that was really good. Our grandfather was a very talented carpenter and builder. So we had this playground that he built. So the whole thing was made of metal. And what we would do a lot of time in the summer, because it got really hot in Sacramento, is we would take a hose, because at the top of the playground, like the kind of bar was just open. You could see right through it and stuff. So we could take a hose and we could spray water through, and it'll kind of trickle down the swing set chains and things, and it'll kind of turn it into a water park. And so we would have like a homemade water slide park at our house, including our slide, which was just a short, straight, like metal side sheeting slide that would go right down into concrete, and we would add water to that so that you go very fast into the concrete because this was the 90s, okay? So we had all this fun with the water park. And then one day we decided, what would be even cooler than a water park? A fire park. Everything's the same except for all of the things instead of water trickling out, fire trickles out. It's going to be great. What's a great way to get a lot of fire a lot of fast? Gasoline. Okay, little ones, if you're watching this, I'm going to tell you right now, do not try this at home. Don't do this. If you want to play with fire, that's totally great. Play with fire. It's super duper fun. Playing with fire is great and perfect until you add an accelerant like gasoline to the equation, which every time when I got into sticky situations, it was because I decided, to kick this up a notch, a little extra spice, straight gasoline, straight petrol, bam, that'll get an inferno going real quick. My friend and I took turns like pouring a little bit of gasoline into one of the pieces of the pipe, one of the little cross beams at some point, and then lighting a match or something with a long, because we were safety minded, so long, you have like distance, and you go, and you light it. And then like fire would kind of spew out of it and stuff, and it looked cool. And we were doing it in very small increments, very safe. The only almost misstep was we took a piece of newspaper, because again we wanted a nice long thing. We doused the end of that in gasoline, and then lit it. And we're gonna have like a torch, and it took off like a torch, but ran up my buddy's arm real quick, and he threw it down. We stomped it out. He didn't get burned or anything, but we're like, ooh, that was that blew up quick. We should be wary of that. We're going to be safe. And then more time passes and you forget about that. So everything was going great. I want to stress that this was a great day at the fire park, and everything was going perfect until my friend ruined it. All right, this is how he ruined it. It's really cool to pour gas into whatever you're going to pour gas into. Get your ignition device, light on fire, see what happens, everything plays out. In theory, what's even cooler is if you have a good setup going and you really want to keep it going, once it's lit, you just add a little bit more gasoline to it. Just pour it on top. Add a little bit extra there. Just give it a little bit more length, a little bit more life. And what we should have learned from our newspaper acceleration of flame experiment was that gasoline is very good at being on fire. And if you pour it and create a stream, that fire might want to lick its way up the stream that you're pouring. So we have this little flame coming out of the thing. My buddy goes, I'm just going to pour a little bit on. It goes like this with a gas can. We have like a 1 gallon plastic red gas can. He starts pouring it on, and the flame immediately whooshes up toward him like the newspaper did. So he freaks out because he's holding a gallon of gas in his hand. Childhood was great. And he freaks out and throws the gas can. The gas can tumbles, leaking gas along the way, lands on its side where it continues to pour gas. And then the flame finds its way down the trail and lights up the ground around the gas can while it's pouring gas out onto the ground. So we're thinking, okay, this is a bomb now. That sucks. I go into full firefighter mode because I've been training. I'd watched Backdraft 10, 12 times by this point. I know exactly what to do. First things first, I get a broomstick. It's an official firefighting tool. I get a broomstick and I go about trying to tip the gas can upright so that the little handle part I can fish under. Is a real Sandlot moment, okay? We're in, like, everything that was a childhood movie came into play right now. So then we can fish up like a Sandlot and pull out the gas can. No more gas, at least the fire won't grow. We get that done. We pull out a like melted mess. That's fine. Get that well out of the way of the flame. That can's not on fire anymore. We're good there. We still have a fire going on. Now the added problem is that when it tumbled, flipped over on its side, it was at the base of a big old dry set of bushes that separated our yard from our neighbor's yard. And so I'm worried that, like, oh man, I got to get this down. I got to tamp this down now before it lights the bush on fire. Okay, so I go to get my trusty hose. It's 6 feet to my right there because I was thinking safety first, safety always, safety is sexy. While we're having a fire park, gotta have water. Counteracts fire, Squirtle beats Charmander. I go to get our trusty hose, our garden hose, and I get it all, set up. I'm like, give me some slack. Tell my buddy, give me some slack line. And I get it all fired up, and I'm thinking, key is you gotta go at the base of the flame. If it's flicking up this way, this doesn't matter. What's it burning? Hit it at the base. So I go to hit it at the base. Boom! Full blast right away. And I do a nice pass through all on the ground. Here's the thing. There's different types of fire. I don't know if you knew this because I sure didn't at the time. There's kind of normal fire and then there's chemical fires. Chemical fires don't care about water. Who knew? Okay, so I shoot gas with water, which just serves to spray the gas into the bush that I was worried about catching on fire. And now the whole bush, the whole yard is on fire. It's all on fire. And so that was new. And I was like, oh, I thought that was going to be the conclusion of this film. This is now bigger than I thought. And now it's just billowing up like it's just eating through this dry bush, this whole big bush. So there's only thing left to do is like I got to keep fighting the fire. So now I'm going up the top, coming down on the bush. My buddy's freaking out, trying to grab pails and things and just like whatever we can do to try to stamp out and blow out this whole thing. And long story short, we eventually got it out because you can see that I'm alive. And we got it all put out. And what was left is like just this whole length of bushes with just gouges taken out of it. Just whole sections gone, all jacked up. We have a melted husk of a can of gas that somehow still holds liquid, that's charred, smoke covered, melted. And we do what all kids do. You just clean up really good, put it all away, and don't ever talk about it. Don't ever acknowledge that it happened. So we do that. We go to how do I smush the bushes kind of back together here? How do we get rid of the smell of gas? Let's just hose down the whole ground really good. I'm just gonna water the lawn real quick. We get everything put away. And then in perfect kid logic. I'm just like, I'm just going to put the gas can back where I found it. If I just put it back there on the same shelf that it always is, because we'd use that to fill up our lawnmower when we did chores and stuff, it'll be fine. No one will ever look into this. Now, the epilogue to this story. Mom, what's going to happen? God bless her. She never brings it up. Never acknowledges it. It never comes up again. My mom used that gas can for years. I know at some point she looked at it and probably said, I'm pretty sure I didn't buy it this way. But she didn't even ask about it. Never once. I held on to anxiety for years about it. And she never, ever mentioned it. And for the longest time, I thought, man, I'm the slickest dude around. Smooth operator. And it's probably just mom saying like, well, they're whole, aren't they? The kids aren't dead. It's fine. I don't need to inquire about this one. And like, it's just one of the best moments thinking back of like thinking I was going to be so slick in all these different ways. And I had the solution to every problem and somehow managed to escape this whole thing without burning down the yard. And then what's attached to our yard? Our freaking house, man. And so we made it out of there whole, and probably for better, I eventually did not become a firefighter. Anyway, that's my story. Have you ever had a similar story? Have you ever done something real dumb? I have done many things. I wish I could say that's the first time that playing with fire and gasoline has almost burned down a major structure in my life. It sure is not the only time that's happened. But it happens less and less often with more age and wisdom that I've acquired. So anyway, that's my story. Have you ever had any really silly things and you try to cover it up as kids and stuff? How did we all survive to adulthood? I really don't know. The 90s were a wild time. Thank you for joining me on the story. If you enjoy stories, let us know. Tell us stories you'd be interested in hearing, certain things like, childhood or whatever. We've done travels and things. We always love to do a story time, especially now here in our new studio. We're like on a cool storytelling couch and stuff like that. So if you like what we do, please give this video a thumb up. If you have a similar story or something, please share the story around so you can get your friends and stuff reminiscing. I'm sure going to share this one with my friend because I don't know if we've talked about this in a very long time. And I'm curious what he thinks because, yeah, I blame him 100%. I don't mind telling you that, buddy. It's your fault. And I fixed it because it was my yard, so my responsibility, and I accept that responsibility. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for joining me on this awesome story time. Have a great day, and just make sure that life's a story, y'all, and make sure that you try to survive it. And remember, fire's super fun right up until the point that you add gasoline.